and welcome to the India Today Business Today studio here at the World Economic Forum in Davos. I am Siddharth Zarabi and with me Sanjeev Krishan, the Chairperson of PwC in India. Thank you very much, Sanjeev. We've just spent some time going through the fine print of a CEO survey that PwC does every year, the 29th one, and we focused in great detail on the India findings with regard to CEOs. But let's use our time here on this conversation to focus on a broader macro topic, which is perhaps to do with looking beyond trade. 6 months back, if you were speaking, we would have spent quite some time on our trade deal and what would happen. I think the whole country and the system is looking beyond that trade deal, as in when it happens, fine. If it doesn't matter. Everyone's pretty bullish on the India growth story. We are literally just 2 weeks away from the budget. So from a macro perspective, what policy initiatives can set the tone for building on the current mood and delivering even higher and better growth going ahead?
So first thing first, Siddharth, I must say that India has been very, very resilient all across 2025. Bunch of reforms which came through last year. I think some path-breaking reforms, right? We talk about the 3 Ls, land, labor, litigation. At least the labor issue got sorted, right? And I think this is something which is a journey. And at times when you are pushed to the brinks, almost, I think you act better and faster. Clearly, India has shown the path, and India is going to be the highest growing economy this year as well. So clearly, the resilience that India has shown. You talk about our export basket. I mean, we're looking at different countries and different regions to export our products to, including the ones which are very, very labor intensive, which is where the biggest employment challenge has been. So I think we have responded to the disruptions that have come through us very, very well. I do believe that India's macro are in pretty good stead at this point in time, and I think there is enough fiscal space for the government to be able to do what it wishes to do. I can see some green shoots of private investments already to supplement the public investments, which have been in a pretty robust way in the last few years. I think a lot in the budget is really going to be where does the government expend the money, because a bunch of reforms have already happened. The GST rationalization has happened. Of course, there are some inverted duty structures owed to the FTAs, both on the customs side and the GST, which possibly need correction. But largely, to me, on the budget, it is really where you want to spend the money going forward. And I think there are 2 areas, or maybe 3 areas where the government, I would like to believe, should focus. One is how do we enhance productivity across our services as well as industrial segments, manufacturing segment. Second is how do we make sure that our competitive advantage, which is our services, we are able to invest in skilling our people so that we continue to be at the cutting edge. And finally, I think for far too long, scale has been an issue. I think we need to acknowledge that scale gets you the competitive advantage and gets you the factor cost that you need to be competitive in this world.
Okay. Since you speak about these points, I want to take one follow-up. Is there scope for significant customs reforms? Because, if the personal side, the indirect side, direct, indirect, both are done, should that be one of the key focus areas, broadly speaking?
I think there are certain areas on the customs side which certainly could be looked at. I think the biggest ones, the government has to be mindful of, the FTAs that it has signed and the ones that it is about to sign. The EU one is about to be signed in particular, that we know. When the FTAs get signed, there are some aberrations that come up. Some inverted duty structures have arisen already. We know about that, and I think those would need to be sorted. I think the other thing when we talk about this is from an FTA standpoint, and particularly when you talk about customs and rationalization, is how do we make sure that there is enough enablement that we are able to leverage the FTAs? Because if we don't leverage the FTAs, then India's FTA utilization rate or leverage rate is about 25%, where for most countries it is 70 to 80%. Then you start blaming that, okay, there must be some problems with the structure that we have got. Yes, there are aberrations to be solved, but I think it's more about making sure that we are able to leverage the FTAs better, and that will be a panacea.
Spending priorities. What would you think would have the highest multiplier as far as headline growth is concerned?
So I think one is the continued investment in infrastructure. I know there have been some discussions around whether the economy can absorb more infrastructure spending. But certainly, I think if you look at logistics, I think our logistics cost has gone down. That's a key component of factor cost, but I think there is a distance to go on that one still. And I think When we looked at urban infrastructure, that is another area because we have seen significant migration to cities now. Unless the urban infrastructure is there at an elevated level, you possibly can't get more and more women, for instance, in the workforce. And we know the impact that women can have once they are joining the workforce into the GDP growth of the country. So I would say that continued focus on infrastructure and focus on urban infrastructure in particular are going to be extremely critical. I again go back to my point of skilling. And I do want to also emphasize that, to my mind at least, there's a need to rehaul our education system or our education curriculum at the senior levels, because with all the disruptions that are coming, whether it's AI and other technology disruptions that are coming, we are proud of the STEM graduates that we create, and those create innovations, etc., for the globe. I think for that to happen on a consistent basis, we will need to rejig our education system so that continue to be at the cutting edge when they come out of schools and colleges.
Absolutely, and that I think is one of the most pressing needs that companies feel. We talk about unemployment all the time, but it's also about people who are not capable of getting the right jobs because they lack skilling. That's a very important point.
In fact, if I can add, the economic survey, I think it was the last year's economic survey, which said that almost 51% of the college graduates which come out, are not really ready for the jobs that they get. Very few of them. So I think that's a case in point.
How do we build a robust AI foundation beyond what we have already done as a nation? I ask you this both as in your capacity as a company that is heavily involved in it, but as a nation state, what do you think needs to be done? We will have a very significant AI summit in a few weeks from now in India. But how do we build on what has already been done so far? Clearly, India, the United States and China lead it in several areas. What's the scope for us to do?
I think whether we want to ape what has been done in many other parts of the world is a moot point, is a moot question at this point in time. I do believe that with India's demographic prowess on the tech side, again I'm referring to the STEM students, there is LLMs which have been built. Now, what pathways can we take from those LLMs and how can we create efficiencies for the manufacturing sector, for the services sector, and also for our agriculture sector, and also create innovations on top of it, right? We have so many enterprise solutions which are there. And how can AI be embedded in what we already have, what is already there? Because, you don't need to recreate. It's a moot point, as I said, if you want to create your own LLM. But to me, the better solution would be at this point in time, and possibly less capex intensive solution would be to find pathways where you can create efficiencies and you can innovate on top of it rather than create your own
LLM. Are there shades of manufacturing versus services a debate that was like 3 decades old or 4 decades old in India and is now kind of getting settled also in favor of manufacturing? Is that between foundational models and just working with the application layer of it?
See, let me just say, I think, both are important, right? We have been a services-led economy. But if you look at the last 3 years, it has also shown that unless, with 17% manufacturing contribution to GDP, we are not happy. We wanted to go to 25%. I think services can enable that to happen. So I look at services as an enabler to our potential manufacturing goals. And I think it's in some ways this juxtaposition of services which they actually look at automating, let's say the shop floors, look at making sure that all the AI solutions and these pathways on AI that I was referring to actually create, reasons for value creation on the manufacturing shop floor as we intend to be, a greater players in the global value chains is something that we ought to be looking at. And I think that's possible. I think the seeds of that have already been sown. I see a number of those businesses actually trying to do that. Number of enterprise AI businesses which are trying to do that, maybe on specific segments of, and I think that is something which I expect more and more to happen over time to come.
Okay, as we now to come back to the AI point, but from the perspective of you being one of the big four in India, what are you yourself in terms of your organization doing with regard to AI, leveraging it internally and also for your business?
Yeah, so I think there are two parts to it. One is, of course, to make sure that our own talent, our talent is tech-enabled. So there's a huge focus on upskilling our own people. We wish our firm to be a tech-native firm. That's what we said in our Vision 2030 document, which we came up with last year. So there's a huge focus on upskilling our people, because unless we skill our people, and we are a knowledge organization, we are a people organization, we cannot create outcome for our clients. And, soon the days of giving time and spending time at a client will be gone, and you getting paid for it will be gone. Most clients are already seeking outcomes, and outcomes will only be created by an upskilled workforce. So first of all, skilling them will also mean that we are tooling them with the right enablement. So for instance, we have chat PwC, which is there with a lot of our people. I mean, we have 365,000 people. A lot of our people have that. We are using a bunch of Copilot and other licenses which enable our people to do their work more efficiently, and in some ways create those outcomes, and also use it as a bit of a sandbox to experiment different things as they're trying to create outcomes for their clients. So I think certainly creating more efficiency, and then also innovating to think as to what solutions can you take to the client. How can you challenge a particular thought process and come up with ideas and use this as a mechanism to do so.
One final question. Describe the mind of an average Indian CEO at this point of time. A world in trade turmoil, geostrategic changes that continuously happen, a market in India which at multiple levels also gives opportunities but also gives you challenges. What is the typical state of mind of an Indian CEO as of today?
Well, I mean, I would say, and I would hope that it is not muddled. I know that there are a lot of disruptions around, but we can't take disruptions as an alibi. I mean, to me, this is possibly, when there is challenge, is possibly the best opportunity for a CEO to really exhibit leadership skills. And I do believe that nobody can do it alone. It has to be done in partnership, and also supporting the teams that he or she anchors. So the fact that you support your team, continue to invest, challenge them to innovate, challenge them to think in a different way, and at times support people if they genuinely make efforts and fail, is what a CEO should be looking to do at this point in time. Because yes, disruptions are coming all the time at us, and if we sort of go into a cocoon, that's not going to help us. It's a time to express ourselves. Maybe we'll fail, but chances are that we'll do well.
Absolutely, and that is what one needs to do in life. Take the chances that come your way and do your best. Sanjeev, all the very best. Thank you very much for your time. But that is a wrap on this conversation. We'll continue our coverage here from Davos. Do stay tuned in.
Welcome once again to the Davos brainstorm here at the World Economic Forum.